Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Let's quiet it down now, please. Take our conversations to the hallway. I note that the hour has come and that a quorum of this council is present. This council will now come to order. All members will please take your seats. All visitors, we're asking for you to retire outside the rails, as well as take your seats. Before proceeding, I will ask all those present to please set your cell phones to silent or vibrate. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes the Reverend Lawrence C. Shuford Jr., pastor of the Second Baptist Church of Frankfort. He is here today as the guest of Councilmember Thomas. I will ask all members and guests to please rise.
Father, you are awesome, and Father, you are kind. There truly is nobody like you in all the earth. You are the King of kings, and you are the Lord of lords. You are from everlasting unto everlasting, and your train knows no end. Father, we pray today that you will do something phenomenal in the life of this city, do something phenomenal in the life of this state and in this country. Father, I pray that you would align us according to your will and according to your way. Father, I pray for these, your people, these elected officials who are called to govern and establish rule and order in this land. Father, I pray that you give them the grace to do so according to your loving kindness. Father, I even pray that there will be laws passed that will not leave any person out, that you will remind them of the least of these, the lost and the left out. Father, we pray in the name of Jesus for the widow and the orphan. God, we pray that there will be no hunger in this city. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus that you will do something dynamic for those that feel forgotten and overlooked. Father, I pray for the grace that you will empower these members to do what you have called them to do. Your word declares that when the righteous are in rule, God, the people rejoice. But when the ungodly are there, God, the people mourn. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus that you will cease our mourning. Father, that you will align us according to your word, according to your will, and according to your way. Father, that you will establish such things in this earth as it is so in heaven. Father, we pray for peace in our land, peace in our city, peace in our homes, peace in our families. Father, we declare it so. Our weapons are not carnal, but they're mighty through God, through the pulling down of strongholds. God, and we exalt that name that is above every other name. And it is by that name, Jesus, do I end this prayer. Let all who believe say amen. Amen. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Council will be at ease. The next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, May the 16th of 2024. The chair recognizes Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, May 16th, 2024 be approved.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, May the 16th of 2024 stand approved. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the journal is approved. The next order of business is the request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Majority Leader Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests for leave of absence today.
The chair thanks the council member. The chair recognizes Minority Leader Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the minority, there are no leaves of absence today.
The chair thanks the council member. The chair recognizes Councilmember Mike Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to be excused for some important council business, and I'd like to be recorded in the affirmative on all bills and resolutions, and I hope to return as soon as possible.
Leave is granted. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson, Majority Leader, for a motion concerning certain legislative matters that may arise during the course of today's session of council and that were not listed on the calendar circulated prior to today's session.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that any of the following matters, if considered today, may be added to the agenda for this session of council, and as required by law, subsequently published on an amended agenda after the consideration of those matters. Resolutions authorizing hearings, amendments to bills on first reading, the reconsideration of a bill vetoed by or recalled from the mayor, amendments to bills recalled from the mayor, resolutions taking substantive action to be voted on in this session of council, a motion to withdraw a bill or resolution that is not on the calendar, and a motion placing a bill or resolution on or returning a bill or resolution from the suspension calendar that is not listed on today's calendar. The purpose of this motion is to provide the public with notice concerning possible actions by council that arose too late to be included on the calendar that was published prior to today's session.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the legislative matters stated by Councilmember Gilmore Richardson may be added to the agenda for today should those matters arise during the course of this session of council. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair will dispense with the regular order of business to recognize the guests and visitors joining us in chambers this morning. On behalf of all members of City Council, we welcome you to our chamber and our council session. We appreciate your taking the time to join us as we attend the legislative affairs of our city. We certainly invite you to come again. I want to also take a moment to acknowledge the students from Parkway High School. Can you please stand? Let's give them a round of applause for joining us today. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilmember Rue Landau, who will present a resolution honoring and recognizing Coded by Kids for preparing underrepresented people for leadership roles within the tech and startup space. Would Danae Mobley and those accompanying her please join the council member at the podium? Joining Councilmember Rue Landau will be Councilmember Mark Squilla, Councilmember Young, Councilmember Thomas, Councilmember Brooks, Councilmember Gaudier, Councilmember Bass, Councilmember O'Rourke, and Councilmember Harity.
Thank you. Come on up. Come on up. Thank you. Come up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Council President, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As chair of the Tech Committee, I am especially honored today to welcome Coded by Kids, a nonprofit organization that focuses on preparing underrepresented people for leadership roles within the tech and startup space. Philadelphia prides itself on our forward-thinking, on being forward-thinking, but it's kids like these who will keep us forward-moving. The efforts of Coded by Kids have been instrumental in bridging the gap in the tech industry, an industry that is disproportionately white. Through a variety of resources, Coded by Kids is doing the critical work of opening the tech industry to young Black and brown Philadelphians. The success stories that have emerged from Coded by Kids programs are a testament to their effectiveness. Young people who have gone through these programs are now contributing to the tech industry in Philadelphia, securing positions with top employers, and even launching startups. Coded by Kids, your work is invaluable and your impact is profound. On behalf of the City of Philadelphia and the citizens of Philadelphia, thank you for your dedication, your innovation, and your unwavering commitment to equity. And I forgot the proclamation is on my desk. Thank you. Oh, no, the actual thing. Okay. So we have a resolution for you. Thank you. So this, we read the paragraphs. Honoring and recognizing Coded by Kids for preparing underrepresented people for leadership roles within the tech startup space.
Whereas Coded by Kids was founded in June 2014 with a mission to change the face of tech by helping underrepresented young people springboard into the tech and startup space. Over the past decade, they have provided tech education to over 2,000 children across 30 locations in 3 states, including right here in Philadelphia. In 2023 alone, they provided programming to 350 youth and over 600 adults. And
whereas the Economy League of Greater Philadelphia found that the tech industry in Philadelphia displays stark inequities, where only 7.3% of those employed are Black, 6.6% are Hispanic, and 19.6% are Asian, compared to the 64.1% who are white. Through its programs, internships, and competitions, Coded by Kids is doing the critical work of opening the tech industry to young Black and brown Philadelphians. And
whereas Coded by Kids accomplishes their goals by providing free programs to students, teaching them a variety of skills in the tech industry, from the basics of coding to incorporating a startup to empowering students to become leaders in the tech space, and as a personal point of privilege, works closely with my office to be able to put together some amazing programs that I just mentioned here. And
whereas their programs currently include Control Shift, which is a competition where high school students showcase their web development skills, CBK Classroom, which shows students the foundations of web design, problem solving, and business creation, a paid tech and innovation internship, and an innovation league, which engages high school students to learn how to build businesses by attending weekly meetings led by innovation coaches and competing for $5,000 cash prize. Whereas Coded by Kids has served over 2,000 youth and 1,000 adults in the city of Philadelphia, proving its commitment to making the pipeline to careers in tech more equitable and accessible. And
whereas students who have successfully completed their programs and internships are making impactful contributions to the Philadelphia tech scene, working for highly respected employers and building their own companies. And
whereas Coded by Kids citywide initiative, One Philadelphia, is a coalition of 30-plus local partners that seeks to make Philadelphia a model for equitable tech and innovation by building critical partnerships, informing Philadelphians about opportunities in tech and innovation, facilitating and launching new programs and initiatives through operational support, and providing actionable data to drive change and inform state and local policies that are supportive of equitable innovation now. Therefore be it.
Therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that it hereby honors and recognizes Coded by Kids for preparing underrepresented people for leadership roles within tech and startup space.
And be it further resolved that an engrossed copy of the resolution be presented to Coded by Kids as a sign of the sincere admiration and respect of this legislative body. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Danae Mobley for remarks.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Danae Mobley, and I'm the CEO of Coded by Kids. To Mayor Parker, Council President Johnson, Presenting Council Member Landau, and the members of Philadelphia City Council, it is my distinct pleasure to stand before you today as we reflect on a decade of impact through Coded by Kids. It's an honor to receive recognition for the work that we do to empower Philadelphia's youth through technology education. Over the past 10 years, Coded by Kids has been more than a nonprofit, but a catalyst for change and a vehicle for opportunity in our communities. Through our programs, as you heard, we have equipped over 2,000 young people, ages 8 to 24, with the skills and the confidence that they need to thrive in the digital age. We go beyond exposure to make sure that Black and brown students in Philadelphia can not only participate in the tech workforce, but they can also lead by creating their own companies and wealth generation opportunities. Now, a decade in, we're actually seeing the evidence of this work with the cohorts of our earliest students now going into CS degrees, computer science degrees at local universities, and even gaining capital for their own businesses that they've created on their own. And none of this would be possible without the unwavering support of our partners, volunteers, staff, and most importantly, the youth that we serve. Each success story, each bright future that's been transformed is a testament to the power of investing in our children and providing them with the tools that they need to succeed. And our Coded story is not one just about education, but it's also a story of evolution. In 2021, we launched One Philadelphia, our initiative aimed at making our city a national hub for tech and innovation. And the next 5 years of our organization will allow us to extend our reach to all Philadelphians of all ages that want to access opportunity in tech and innovation. And as we celebrate this milestone, we are deeply committed to the cause of diversity, equity, and inclusion in tech education. And on behalf of Coded by Kids, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to Philadelphia City Council for this resolution. Your recognition reaffirms our shared commitment to building a brighter future, an inclusive future for all. And I'm encouraged by Council's desire to make strategic investments in our young people by allocating resources, shaping policies, and fostering partnerships that will support youth development and education. And together, we will continue to inspire, educate, and empower the next generation of leaders and innovators. Thank you very much.
Council will be at ease. At this time, on my behalf, the chair recognizes Councilmember Harity, who will present a resolution honoring, recognizing, and congratulating Philabundance, the Greater Philadelphia area's largest hunger relief organization, on the occasion of its 40th anniversary. It's also located in the 2nd Councilmatic District. Would Pamela Rainey Lawler and those accompanying her please join the council member at the podium. Also joining Councilmember Harity will be Councilmember Bass, Councilmember Squilla, Councilmember O'Rourke, Councilmember Lozada, Councilmember Brooks, Councilmember Landau, and Councilmember Phillips. Y'all deep.
Came in force. There you go. Good stuff. Go ahead. Hi. Hello, hello.
Right here. With the shirts on. The shirts on. Right here. Stay right here. Yes. You're gonna be okay.
Whenever you're ready, Councilmember Harity.
Good morning, everyone. It's just amazing to see all these people up here that are working for Philabundance and helping people every day, and to think where they started out of the back of a Subaru. It's kind of amazing. So I'm going to read the resolution. Honoring, recognizing, and congratulating Philabundance, the Greater Philadelphia area's largest hunger relief organization, on the occasion of its 40th anniversary. Whereas Philabundance was founded and incorporated in March 1984 by Pamela Rainey Lawler as a food rescue organization with the simple belief that no one should go hungry, while food goes to waste, and was operated out of Pamela Rainey Lawler's Subaru station wagon for the first year of its existence.
Whereas Philabundance's initial goal was to work with grocers, restaurateurs, bakers, and other food merchants to salvage healthy, nutritious food that was thrown away, but quickly took on the broader mission of driving hunger from communities throughout our region. Today, Philabundance aims to relieve hunger now while working to end hunger for good. And
whereas Philabundance has expanded since its foundation to include warehouses locations in South Philly, North Philly, and Roxborough, providing hunger relief services throughout the city, as well as 8 surrounding counties, including Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery counties in Pennsylvania, and Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, and Salem counties in New Jersey. And
whereas Philabundance stepped up to meet the unprecedented community need for food assistance during the COVID-19 pandemic, doubling the amount of food distributed from nearly 25 million in 2019 to more than 50 million in 2020, and continuing to serve at this level into 2024 to meet the ongoing heightened demand. And whereas today, Philabundance provides food assistance to more than 100,000 people each week, including targeted services for children and senior citizens. And whereas Philabundance serves our neighbors in need through its network of more than 350 community partners, including food pantries, schools, places of worship, shelters, social service agencies, and emergency kitchens, with over 220 in the city of Philadelphia. And
whereas Philabundance takes an approach to food assistance that aims to address the root causes of hunger with initiatives such as Philabundance Community Kitchen, a culinary arts workforce development program for low to no income adults, which has graduated more than 1,000 students to date, with an impressive employment rate of more than 80% among graduates. and prepares hundreds of thousands of meals each year to shelters, schools, and other organizations supporting vulnerable populations. And
whereas Philabundance is committed to providing communities with nutritious, culturally responsive, equitable sourced, and accessible food in accordance with their good food policy, with nearly 90% of the food distributed classified as healthy. And whereas Philabundance has long been recognized as a pioneer in the field of hunger relief, most recently through innovative partnerships with healthcare providers to home deliver nutritious meals and piloting food as medicine interventions with the goal of improving health outcomes. And
whereas Philabundance has partnered with WMMR's Preston and Steve to host Camp Out for Hunger, the nation's largest food drive for the past 26 years here in Philadelphia. And whereas Philabundance has a long-standing partnership with the City of Philadelphia through their work with the Office of Children and Families, the Office of Homeless Services, the Office of People with Disabilities, and elected officials to provide crucial nutritional support to Philadelphia's most vulnerable residents. And
whereas President Joseph Biden has volunteered at Philabundance for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service on 3 occasions, recognizing the value of their work and shining a national spotlight on a critical need to eradicate food insecurity. And whereas Philabundance is a member of Feeding America's national network of over 200 food banks, leveraging their resources to inform and expand initiatives to reduce hunger and advocate for lasting policy change at the local, state, and federal level. Now, therefore, be it.
Therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that it hereby honors, recognizes, and congratulates Philabundance on the occasion 40th anniversary for its exemplary service to Philadelphians and citizens throughout the greater Philadelphia area. Further resolved that an embossed copy of this resolution be presented to Philabundance as evidence of our sincere sentiments of this legislative body. Yeah.
The chair now recognizes Pamela Rainey Lawler and Lori D. Jones Brown for remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, President.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
council members. This is quite an honor. 40 years is amazing. I can't believe it. The time goes so quickly. 40 years ago, I was struck by the disparity between the life that I was living and so many of my neighbors and friends, and yet so many people in the community were struggling with their basic needs. I was also spending a lot of time at catered events and restaurants. I was somewhat of a foodie, so I was seeing food, that perishable, healthful foods that appeared to be going to waste. I was not in food service or in social service, so coming from a corporate background, I really thought someone must be collecting this food. And what I found is that it was not being collected. So I made a change and learned that it was really a logistics problem. Interestingly, 40 years ago, no one believed that you could move perishable foods safely and efficiently. And I remember being struck by the fact that, well, wait a minute, that's a problem and we can solve that problem. And it really came down to logistics. So Philabundance started as a transportation, solely transportation. I have to mention, the story of the Subaru station wagon has lived for 40 years, and it always kind of blows my mind. I just want to very briefly, one of my founding board members I had my office in my home, and he basically said, well, you know, Pamela, this is really interesting. You've got the business plan, you've got the incorporation, you've got the agencies, the 9 agencies that you're going to work with, the marketing plan. It's all, unless you are moving food, there is no Philabundance. And I pretty much started it with $1,500, and it was like, well, yeah, okay. And I realized I had a station wagon. So it's like, damn, I can move that food. And of course, we're talking about varying quantities of perishable foods from a variety of sources. So it is, it's been an incredible journey, and the fact that so many people in the community have come together and embraced the idea and the mission. And I am so proud of all of the people, the employees and the donors and the food donors and financial donors who have come together. It was an idea from the beginning that resonated with people. The idea that there were people in our community who were going without the food that they needed was really intolerable. So that was really the beginning of Philabundance. And I have to say that it is amazing that we have grown, and yet that was sort of, well, no. If someone had said to me 40 years ago, you know, this problem is going to, the problem that you want to create an emergency response to is still going to exist 40 years later. We won't get into that right now, but it is a major issue, and we have so much more work to do. I very briefly want to, before my time's up, I want to mention that when I was thinking back to the early days, there were 2 stories that I remembered. Philabundance, or Philadelphia, was very involved with what we were doing. From the very beginning, you know, the station wagon, picking up surplus food from different places and delivering it directly to the best agencies nearby. Again, logistics. Someone in the public health department must have read one of the early stories about this woman in her station wagon with a baby in the back seat and collecting food and distributing it. Now, if you can imagine a public health professional, his head probably was ready to explode. Like, what is this woman doing? So he contacted me, and of course I filled him in on the plan and the logistics and the pilot that we had planned, and he was very responsive. What he also did was created workshops for some of our earliest food donors, or food recipients, safe food handling. So I remember years ago, some of the early agencies and the public health department were doing these safe food handling, and that was terrific, and that was the beginning. One last story, and this is related to council. I don't know how many of you may remember when council many years ago had a much maligned fund, and maybe a slush fund, and council people were able to give money to agencies or people in the community. I have to say, there was a woman who was a council person in the 80s, Ann Land, and she arranged for us to get $10,000. And that was one of the first major donations. So that much maligned fund, it did a lot of good in a lot of places. So that was really very important. So the fact the public health and the $10,000, we also got a donation from the Philadelphia Foundation. And those 2 gifts were enough to get a van and hire a driver. So that was sort of the beginning of what I also referred to as, yes. I was sort of, I thought maybe there would be music, you know, like, but anyway. Yes. Thank you so much.
Good morning. A round of applause again for our founder, Pam Ramey Lawler.
Council President Johnson, to all the members of council, we appreciate you recognizing Pam's vision and really what we've collectively built with your support, with the community's support. In my 30 seconds, I do want to acknowledge the folks that are standing here and those who couldn't stand here with us. Pam Renee Lawler remains on our board. David Leone is a board member. Thank you for being here, David. And I had intended to name every single one of my staff members that are here and the rest of the 150 that are out working for the community right now. I have to, though, acknowledge another founder of Philabundance, and that's Candace Matthews-Bass, who's here with us today. 24 years ago, Candace, come to the front. Because this is a name you all should know. 24 years ago, Candace started our community kitchen, our workforce development program, and through her innovation and tenacity, we've now graduated 1,000 students, some of whom are on this stage, who originally were eligible for SNAP, who are now gainfully employed, teaching knife skills and life skills. We hope that we appreciate your support of Philabundance. We invite you all to join us, to come volunteer and help us build birthday boxes as we're creating, ensuring that kids in our neighborhoods have access to birthdays. But again, thank you so much, Council President. Thank you, everybody, for your support.
You're welcome. Council will be at ease. The chair also recognizes the presence of Councilmember Jamie Cartier. The chair recognizes Councilmember Phillips.
Thank you, Council President. As you know, a couple weeks ago, we recognized Albany High School's Andrea Glaze, who passed away suddenly due to a tragic incident at Albany High School. And just want to say Albany High School is producing outstanding leaders and teachers in the city of Philadelphia. And we're proud to have with us today from Albany High School one of the 60 best teachers of this year and beyond who were recognized with the the Lindbeck Foundation's Award for Distinguished Teachers. Also accompanying her is Michael Rolfe, who's the principal, proud principal at Allen High School. That teacher here is Luz Marcela Alva de la Rosa. If she can just come forward, and so we could just recognize her. And so, Principal Rolfe, thank you. She has to leave early, so I just want to make sure we recognize her. Stand up for this. Let's give her, City of Philadelphia, give her a round of applause. I just want to say thank you, Council President. We need to keep great teachers in the City of Philadelphia and beyond. So thank you so much, Luz, for all that you do. Thank
Congratulations. The next order of business is communications. The chair requests that the Sergeant at Arms deliver the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. The chief clerk will read the messages from the mayor and any other communications in her possession.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I'm submitting herewith for your consideration of your honorable body the following proposed ordinance. Authorizing the Director of Planning and Development on behalf of the city to file applications with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for a Community Development Block Grant to file applications to participate in the Home Investment Partnership Program and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and to apply for a Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS grant, and to file applications with the Commonwealth to obtain grants under Act of April 12, 1956, PL 1449, Section 4, as amended to prevent and eliminate blight, authorizing the Director of Planning and Development and the Director of Commerce to file applications to obtain other grants from the Commonwealth, authorizing the Director of Commerce to use the Section 108 Loan Guarantee Program, and authorizing the Director of Planning and Development and the Director of Commerce to enter into all understandings and assurances contained in such applications and take all necessary action to accept the grants, all under certain terms and conditions. And a resolution appointing Mark Jenkins to the Board of Directors of the City Avenue Special Services District of Philadelphia and Lower Merion. And a resolution confirming the appointment of Tanetta Graham to serve on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And a resolution confirming the reappointment of James Snell to serve on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And a resolution confirming the reappointment of Ismail Shahid to serve on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And a resolution confirming the appointment of Cheryl Gaston to serve on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And a resolution confirming the reappointment of William Bergman to serve on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Tioga Urban Renewal Area, identified as a portion of 3030 North 20th Street, and authorizing the Redevelopment Authority to execute the redevelopment contract with New Cortland Apartments at Clearfield, LP, and to take such action as may be necessary to effectuate the redevelopment contract. And pursuant to Section 4-604 and 2-307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am today transmitting to the Council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill number 240301, Bill number 240305, 240333, 240336, 45 days requested, 240382, 45 days requested, 240384, and 240385. And I am pleased to advise you that on May 22nd, I signed the following bills, which were passed by Council at its session on May 9th, 2024. Bill number 240192, 240215, 240216, and 240244. There are no other communications in my possession, Council President.
Thank you. The messages will be printed in the journal. The next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. The chair recognizes Councilmember Phillips.
Good morning, Philadelphia. Good morning, Council President. I have one privileged resolution for introduction today.
Will the clerk please read the title of the privileged resolution?
A privileged resolution recognizing and congratulating Alany High School teacher Luz Marcela Alva de la Rosa for being honored with the Christian R. and Mary F. Lindbeck Foundation's Award for Distinguished Teachers.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Today I offer 3 bills on your behalf. The Homestead Exclusion Bill is being co-introduced by Councilmember Brian O'Neill.
Will the clerk please read the title of the bills?
An ordinance amending Section 19-1301.1 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Homestead Exclusion to increase the amount of the homesteading exclusion under certain terms and conditions.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And an ordinance authorizing encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe in the vicinity of 1532 Snyder Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19145, under certain terms and conditions.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And an ordinance authorizing the Director of Planning and Development on behalf of the city to file applications with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for a community development block grant, to file applications to participate in the Home Investment Partnership Program and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and to apply for a Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS grant, and to file applications with the Commonwealth to obtain grants under Act of April 12, 1956, PL 1449, Section 4, as amended to prevent and eliminate blight, authorizing the Director of Planning and Development and the Director of Commerce to file applications to obtain other grants from the Commonwealth, authorizing the Director of Commerce to use Section 108 Loan Guarantee Program, and authorizing the Director of Planning and Development and the Director of Commerce to enter into all understandings and assurances contained in such applications, and to take all such necessary action to accept the grants, all under certain terms and conditions.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Jamie Gaudier.
Good morning, Council President. Today I have 3 bills for introduction.
Will the clerk please read the title of the bills?
An ordinance authorizing the vacating of Beaumont Street from 51st Street to its terminus southwestwardly therefrom.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And an ordinance authorizing encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe in the vicinity of 6249 Catherine Street, Philadelphia, PA 19143, under certain terms and conditions.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And authorizing encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe in the vicinity of 5013 Baltimore Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19143, under certain terms and conditions.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee. The chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. I have 3 resolutions, 2 on my behalf, 1 on your behalf.
Will the clerk please read the title of the resolutions?
Thank you. A resolution honoring and recognizing the Philadelphia Freeway by declaring June 1st, 2024, Philadelphia Freeway Day in the city of Philadelphia, celebrating the outstanding contributions of Philadelphia Freeway and his organization, Freedom Thinkers Academy. It's privileged.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring and congratulating April Verrett, the first African-American woman to become the president of the Service Employees International Union, SEIU.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings to explore existing partnerships between cultural institutions and schools in the city of Philadelphia and to evaluate the benefits of expanding these partnerships.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman Ruland. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. President. 1 non-privileged, 2 privileged resolutions today.
Will the clerk please read the title of the privileged and non-privileged resolutions, please?
A privileged resolution declaring the month of May in 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia and further honoring Dr. Taliba Foster for her work in the field of mental health.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold public hearings to examine, understand, and unveil the resources website developed as a result of the Parent University 2.0.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
and a non-privileged resolution appointing Mark Jenkins to the Board of Directors of the City Avenue Special Services District of Philadelphia and Lower Merion.
This resolution will be placed on the final passage calendar for consideration at our next session of council. The chair recognizes Councilman Rue Landau.
Good morning, Council President and colleagues. I have two privilege resolutions.
Will the clerk please read the title of the privileged resolutions?
A privileged resolution honoring and recognizing Coded by Kids for preparing underrepresented people for leadership roles within the tech and startup space.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing and congratulating the Wilma Theater for receiving the 2024 Regional Theater Tony Award and celebrating Wilma's outstanding contributions to the world of theater and Philadelphia's diverse and vibrant arts and cultural landscape.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilmember Ketty Lozada.
Good morning, Council President. Today I offer one bill and one non-privileged resolution.
Will the clerk please read the title of the bill and resolution?
An ordinance amending Chapter 9-600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Service and Other Businesses by adding various locations to the section regulating the hours of operation of certain establishments and providing for penalties within those various locations, all under certain terms and conditions.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Special Committee on Kensington to convene for the purpose of investigating and addressing the barriers to accessing treatment beds in the Kensington area.
This resolution will be placed on the final passage calendar for consideration at our next session of council. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two resolutions for introduction today.
Will the clerk please read the title of the resolutions?
A privileged resolution honoring and congratulating students from the Benjamin Franklin High School Building Trades and Property Maintenance Program for their 100% passing rate of the National Occupational Competency Testing Institute exam.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Council of the City of Philadelphia to hold hearings on the use and occupancy of 21 West Girard Avenue by the City of Philadelphia and its contractors, and in furtherance of such investigation, authorizing the issuance of subpoenas to compel the attendance of the Parker administration officials, including the mayor, and other such witnesses, and the production of documents to the full extent authorized under Section 2-401 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter. Is it non-privileged? I'm sorry, it's non-privileged.
This resolution will be placed on the final passage calendar for consideration at our next session of council. The chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks.
Good morning, Council President. I have one privileged resolution to introduce today.
Will the clerk please read the title of the resolution?
And a privileged resolution celebrating May as Bicycle Awareness Month, recognizing the vibrant Philadelphia bicycling community, and calling for comprehensive bike lane accessibility across Philadelphia.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Harity.
Good morning, Council President. I have one privileged resolution today.
Will the clerk please read the title of the privileged resolution?
A privileged resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Labor and Civil Service to hold public hearings on the administration's proposed return to office policy and the impact on the city's workforce.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilmember Nicholas O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions to introduce today.
The chair recognizes Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one privilege resolution co-introduced with Councilmember Isaiah Thomas and co-sponsored by all members of council.
Will the clerk please read the title of the privilege resolution?
A privileged resolution proclaiming May 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month in celebration of America's local governments and the National League of Cities historic centennial anniversary.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman Mark Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one bill.
Will the clerk please read the title of the bill?
To amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Locust Street, 8th Street, South Street, and Broad Street.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee. The chair recognizes Councilmember Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one privileged resolution and one non-privileged resolution.
Will the clerk please read the title of the resolutions?
A privileged resolution recognizing and honoring the students in Imhotep Institute Charter High School STEM program for their dedication as change makers ready to tackle humanity's most pressing challenges with determination and innovation.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Tioga Urban Renewal Area identified as a portion of 3030 North 20th Street, and authorizing the Redevelopment Authority to execute the redevelopment contract with New Cortland Apartments at Clearfield LP, and to take such action as may be necessary to effectuate the redevelopment contract.
This resolution will be placed on the final passage calendar for consideration at the next session of council. The chair recognizes Councilmember Nina Mai.
Thank you, Council President. I have one bill, two privileged resolutions, and one non-privileged resolution on your behalf.
Will the clerk please read the title of the bill and resolutions?
An ordinance amending Title IX of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions by adding a new chapter creating requirements related to the operation and maintenance of electric vehicle charging stations installed at certain commercial and residential parcels, all under certain terms and conditions.
This bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a privileged resolution recognizing May 25th, 2024 as National Missing Children's Day in the city of Philadelphia.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing May 2024 as ALS Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia.
This resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to allocate full funding for school-based health centers and to give the Commonwealth's most vulnerable children an opportunity to thrive by providing complete mental and physical health in their schools.
This resolution will be placed on the final passage calendar for consideration at our next session of council. The next order of business is reports from committee. The chair recognizes Councilmember Bass for a report from the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Rules reports out two bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Will the chief clerk please read the report?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia. The Committee on Rules, to which was referred Bill Number 240241, entitled Amending Section 14-704 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Open Space and Natural Resources, by changing the applicability of steep slope protection requirements for certain stream restoration activities, all under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to Council with a favorable recommendation. And the Committee on Rules, to which was referred Bill Number 240336, entitled Amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, by adding definitions and creating a new Chestnut Hill Lower East NCO in the area generally bounded by the SEPTA Chestnut Hill East Line, Gresham Valley Drive, Germantown Avenue, Winston Road, Moreland Avenue, Devon Street, Ardley Street, and Springfield Avenue under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to Council with a favorable recommendation.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Bass for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading this day of the bills just read into the record by the chief clerk.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the consideration of the bills just read by the chief clerk at today's session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries. And bills number 240241 and 240336 will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. The chair recognizes Councilmember Gilmore Richardson for a report from the Committee on Law and Government.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Law and Government reports out two bills and two resolutions with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Will the chief clerk please read the report?
The Committee on Law and Government, to which was referred Bill Number 240005, entitled Providing for the Submission to the Qualified Electors of the City of Philadelphia of an Amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to create the Office of Homeless Services Ombudsperson as set forth in a resolution approved by council, fixing the date of a special election for such purpose, prescribing the form of ballot question to be voted on, and authorizing the appropriate officers to publish notice and to make arrangements for the special election, respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill Number 240061, entitled Providing for the Submission to the Qualified Electors of the City of Philadelphia of the proposal set forth in a resolution approved by council proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, further providing for mandatory annual appropriations for the Housing Trust Fund and authorizing and directing the appropriate officers to publish notice and to make arrangements for the special election, respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Resolution Number 240030, entitled Proposing an Amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, providing for the creation of the Office of Homeless Services Ombudsperson and providing for the submission of the amendment to the electors of Philadelphia, respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same and returns the attached resolution to council with a favorable recommendation. And Resolution Number 240068, entitled Proposing an Amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, further providing for the mandatory annual appropriations for the Housing Trust Fund and providing for the submission of the proposed amendment to the electors of Philadelphia, respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same and returns the attached resolution to council with a favorable recommendation.
The chair recognizes Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit first reading this day of the bills just read into the record by the chief clerk.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the consideration of the bills just read by the chief clerk at today's session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Bills numbers 240005 and 240061 will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. Resolutions number 240030 and 240068 will be placed on the final passage calendar for consideration at our next session of council. The chair recognizes Councilmember Lozada for a report from the Committee on Public Property and Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Public Property and Public Works reports out 9 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Will the chief clerk please read the report?
The Committee on Public Property and Public Works, to which was referred Bill Number 240187, entitled Amending Chapter 16-1700 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Philadelphia Land Bank, to allow interested parties to require open bidding when land bank seeks to exercise special authority to acquire property at a sheriff's sale and allow prior owners to redeem property when such special authority is exercised, all under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill Number 240303, entitled Authorizing Acceptance of the Grant to the City of 2 certain areas located on either side of Hunting Park Avenue, east of Whitaker Avenue, as slope easements under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill Number 240370, renaming and designating the property commonly referred to as the West Oak Lane Library, located at 2000 East Washington Lane, as the Dwight Evans Library of West Oak Lane in the city of Philadelphia, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill Number 240383, entitled Authorizing the City's Chief Innovation Officer or their designee to enter into a cable television franchise renewal agreement with Verizon Pennsylvania LLC, renewing the cable television franchise granted by the city to Verizon for franchise areas 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and 4 of the city, all under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill Number 240423, entitled Authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to acquire fee simple title or a lesser interest in real estate by purchase, dedication, donation, condemnation, agreement in lieu of condemnation, or otherwise, in parcels of land along the Schuylkill River and the Wissahickon Creek for public recreational purposes under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill number 240425 entitled Authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to acquire a fee simple title or lesser real estate interest in all or a portion of parcels or parcels of land from the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, the Philadelphia Land Bank, and the Philadelphia Housing and Development Corporation, all under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill number 240428 entitled Prohibiting the Commissioner of Public Property or any other official of the City of Philadelphia acting on behalf of the city from entering into, executing, or authorizing a lease extension, lease amendment, lease renewal, or new agreement by and between the city and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for or on behalf of any Commonwealth department or agency at the property located at 2100 West Girard Avenue, all under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill number 240431, entitled Authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to acquire fee simple title or a lesser interest by purchase, dedication, donation, condemnation, agreement in lieu of condemnation or otherwise, of certain parcels of land along the Delaware River in the Tacony-Holmesburg area for the purpose of making, enlarging, connecting, extending, operating, and maintaining public parks for recreational use under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill number 240435, entitled Authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to acquire fee simple title or lesser real estate interest to all or a portion of parcels of land situate at 121-25 East Chelton Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Lozada for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading this day of the bills just read into the record by the chief clerk.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the consideration of the bills just read by the chief clerk at today's session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Bills numbers 240187, 240303, 240370, and 240383, 240423, 240425, 240428, 240431, and 240435 will be placed on the first reading calendar for today. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jamie Gardier for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless reports out one bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Will the chief clerk please read the report? And thank you, Councilman Jamie Gardier, for a report on the Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and Homeless.
The Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless, to which was referred Bill number 240245, entitled Amending Chapter 9-800 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Landlord and Tenant, to modify requirements and authorizations related to the city's residential eviction diversion program, including associated changes to the landlord and tenant relationship, and to make certain technical changes, all under certain terms and conditions, respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
The chair recognizes Councilman Jamie Gardier for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading this day of the bill just read into the record by the chief clerk.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the consideration of the bill just read by the chief clerk at today's session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries, and bill number 240245 will be placed on the first reading calendar of today. The next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committees with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. These bills will be placed on the second reading and final passage calendar for the next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilmember Gilmore Richardson for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following bills on the second reading and final passage calendars. Numbers 240119, 240183, 240184, 240191, 240221, 240239, 240240, 240243, 240250, 240282, 240301, 240302, 240329, 240331, 240334, 240335, and 240118.
Can I have a second?
Second. Thanks, Jim.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the bills just read by Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. All those in favor will please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries, and we will consider the bill consent agenda shortly. The chair again recognizes Councilmember Gilmore Richardson for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you again, Mr. President. In addition to the bills being considered on the consent agenda, the following bills and resolutions are on the second reading and final passage calendar for today. Numbers 240477, 240484, 240486, 240012-A, 240220, and the following bills and resolutions on the calendar are being held: 240059, 240376.
Thank you. Before considering the bills and resolutions, we will consider public comment as follows. Your public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendar for possible action at today's council session. All speakers must sign up in order to testify. If you have not already signed up for today's session, please do so now by giving your name to Ms. Hassan at the table outside the rails to my left. Once you have signed up, you will be called in the order in which your name appears on the sign-up sheet. Under ideal circumstances, public commenters will each have 3 minutes to speak. However, due to our volume today, this time limit may vary from session to session. Today's time limit will be 2 minutes. In order to be fair to all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the 2-minute limit. When you begin speaking, you will see a green light on the podium. When there are 30 seconds remaining to your time, the light will turn yellow, which is your reminder to conclude your remarks. Once 2 minutes have passed, the light will turn red and the sergeant at arms will disconnect the microphone. At that point, please yield the podium to the next speaker if you have not already done so. I also reserve the right pursuant to our rules of council to limit repetitious comments on the same subject matter. I will now ask the chief clerk to please read the name of our first speaker.
Our first speaker is Robert Chung. May Jeffrey McFarland, Keisha Wilkins, Queen Judith Robinson, and Hillary Langer also make their way to the podium. Robert Chung.
Hello. In addition to, in addition to the items that will be addressed emphasizing the need today to honor the life of Christian Hall, I want to point out that Christian was a unique soul and spirit in this world that cannot be replaced. Unfortunately, the tragedy that ended his life is not one in isolation with our need for real mental health solutions. In just this month alone, we are seeing more of these calls for help, leading to the dehumanization of what should be considered patients. Recently, footage was released detailing the fatal outcomes of Bangladeshi teenager Win Rosario in New York and Korean Yongyang in Los Angeles after they and their families called for help during mental health episodes. There's clearly a precedence that these orders and the culture do not allow for these folks to get proper help. And here we are. Another Asian teenager has been lost for no just reason More Asian and Black parents are wondering why it's so hard for our children's lives to be valued when we are just simply asking for help. Our lives are not disposable, and in the time I have here, I understand it's limited, but at one point today, I'll ask folks if they can count to the number 14. 14 seconds is how long Christian had his hands held in the air before Pennsylvania State Police shot him 8 times. We need better solutions to handle mental health crises, real services that actually value life and care, including proper funding for 988, accessibility for psychological and psychiatric services. And as many people can tell firsthand accounts, these patients, even in non-fatal incidences, are not treated well. They're put in handcuffs. They're treated like nuisances. They are treated like criminals. We have to do better. Philadelphia should lead with this resolution. We should lead with change in this state, and Christian Hall should be alive today. Thank you.
Jeffrey McFarland.
Good morning, Philadelphia City Council. It's my honor to ask you to rise and grind, to learn with purpose, to lead with purpose. That's the way we start every day at Parkway Northwest High School, along with my students behind me. And that's the way I would like to ask for more funding as I speak on bill number 240376. That bill asked for approximately $227 million through citywide funding for things such as city, parks and recreation, facilities, sanitation services, and economic development, although the $14 million should be more than that. I stand in front of you because the tax base over the next 5, 10, and 30 years that will pay off that bill is right behind me. If we're investing in the city, the services and the sanitation and the economic development, you need to also match that with city funding for education. This group was in Harrisburg on the city steps, Harrisburg Capitol steps, asking for more funding, and they asked for that same matching of righting the unconstitutional wrong of the schools in our city for our children, for our students, for our scholars, for our young adults, including Shavana, 9th grade, financial literacy expert, including Dante, the most improved student in our whole school community in 10th grade, including Naeem, who's doing an amazing job with the support and tutelage of Ms. Henderson and the specialized classes and services that he is just crushing and benefiting from, including Sarah Julia, who is a leader in our school and was part of the kids campaign through the city, including Demetrius Jones, who will be going to Cornell as the first student in the public league of athletes in 50 years. Yes, they are deserving. Yes. Why? Because every student deserves to be valued, and we need the staff to do it. We need the climate staff, we need the counselors, we need the social workers. Why? Because every student needs to be seen, heard, and valued. Why? Because we need a guaranteed and viable curriculum, which the district is doing now. And why? Because they need the college and career opportunities that every student in this city deserves, just like any other student anywhere, period. Thank you.
Wilkins, Queen Judith Robinson, Hillary Langer, Reverend Greg Holston. Is Keisha Wilkins here? Queen Judith Robinson?
Good morning. Queen Judith Robinson here to testify on 240118, supposedly consumer protection. I'm going to say a little, too late. Never should those fraudulent documents have been recorded in our Department of Records. Over 500 fraudulent documents recorded against African Americans, according to testimony, 500 families now tangled and mired in red tape. Wouldn't it have been more sensible for the Records Department not to have recorded those documents and then let MV Realty sue the city instead of having the consumer be now mired in this morass of red tape over a 40-year period. I'm a real estate professional. We do listing contracts, hopefully, for a year. How could we do one for 40 years and that be recorded in our city of Philadelphia? So the government is responsible. So I have a solution. I never come with a problem without a solution. That's $7.6 million that you all budgeted for tangled titles and given to attorneys, knowing full well Philadelphia had no recourse for the MV Realty scam. So I'm going to say take that $7.6 million and make those 500 families whole. It's $6,000 per contract. Do the math. So even after the predatory lending fiasco we had years ago, we find that there's a loophole. So I'm going to suggest that you do that. How can black folks receive reparations when negative things keep happening to us? I am still waiting for eminent domain to be rejected in this town as it relates to black folks. And we're also waiting for traffic study, parking study, and an environmental study for our first historic district corridor, Diamond Street. Thank you very much.
Hillary Langer, Reverend Greg Holston, Shantae Love Mason, and Reuben Jones also make their way to the podium.
Begin, sir.
Thank you. I'm speaking regarding Bill 240012A. My name is Hillary Langer. I'm resident of East Falls since 1982, and I'm chair of the East Falls Community Council Zoning Committee. As a community, we are in support of the rezoning to expedite the funding approval, planning, and reconstruction of the plant with the accompaniment of a fully resolved bill. It is a $1.1 billion project dedicated just to East Falls alone. $763 million for the plant, $260 million for the construction of a tunnel through rock. 100 feet of ground connected.
Mr. Langer?
Two plants.
Excuse me, Mr. Langer. I think Bill 240012-0 is in regards to the increasing of the homestead exemption.
I'm speaking about the water department bill.
Okay, go ahead, proceed.
Okay. The numbers I've just stated represent 42% of the entire citywide budget up to 2042 for reconstruction of water infrastructure. Councilman Jones has, in several meetings, promised to advocate for us, and I'm here today chiefly to thank him for that advocacy. He strengthened the bill and certainly included many of the protections that were lingering in an agreement into that bill. There's a couple more amendments we'd really like to discuss. One of the previously approved amendments in the bill has dropped off. I just think it's a typo. And so, you know, we look forward to a couple more meetings so we can get this bill passed and just have and continue working with you. Appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend Greg Holston, Shantae Love Mason, Reuben Jones.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Gregory Holston. I am one of the co-facilitators of the 57 Block Coalition. Proud to wear my t-shirt with you today. Glad to be here to support this resolution asking the Pennsylvania State Legislature to support more school health supports and health centers in our schools. I will tell you though, it's difficult to go back to the state, as many of us who are here, members from AMIR, members from Mothers in Charge, members of Frontline Dads, all a part of this 57 Block Coalition, that have been to Harrisburg already. And they ask us, Harrisburg is giving $100 million to gun violence, $50 million that go to the city of Philadelphia, and many other mental health supports. And they're asking us, when is the city going to do as much as the state? We give about $13.5 million to community-based gun violence prevention organizations in last year's budget, and we're not budgeted for much more than that this year. When the $50 million came from the state, as we have said over and over and over again, immediately gun violence went down in this city and has gone down for the last 20 months. It's gone down because there's more investment in these organizations on the ground. And until this city, which at one time had as little as $775,000 go to these organizations, until we invest at the same level that the state invests, we will never solve this problem. One time I came to you 6 years ago and I said, if we invest $100 million, we will reduce gun violence to the lowest levels it will ever have been. And many who were here at that time laughed when I said that. Well, that's exactly what is starting to happen with the little bit of investment that the city is doing and the more investment that the state doing. And if the city could raise its level up to $50 million and support a strategy like 57 blocks that is led by these community organizations, we can reduce it to 247, which was the lowest number in 50 years, but we can go even further. We can reduce it below 200. We can reduce it below 100. We can be like Boston has been, that only had 2 homicides in the first 3 months of this year. We can do that, but you guys got to be willing to take a further step up and invest more. Doesn't take a lot. $6 billion budget, find $50 million more, and match the state's level, and we can make a change.
Thank you.
Shantae Love Mason, then Reuben Jones.
Thank you, Council President and Council members. As co-founder and president of Emir Healing Center that stands for Every Murder is Real, as you know, I've stood before you many of times speaking of the loss of loved ones due to gun violence. I stand with my team members, and this is just part of them, because today we had to be split up. We are at Imhotep today because of the loss of the homicide of our brother. We are also at Wagner today because of the shooting. And also, we were at Universal because of the level of violence. We were also had global leadership, Martin Luther King High School, Sankofa, go to Harrisburg just for this same thing. And we promote not only trauma-informed care, but community-based doing the work. You witnessed it yourselves. You saw it change. Match that same power and level up also. We want to level up with you. We're looking for the courage of you to say, we're going to make a difference and a change. What we're seeing now is that in our schools, that the level of pain, even though you may prevent violence today, we have got to mend the hearts of those who have been exposed and witnessed. It's going to take a commitment of years, and we need you to commit to that. I am one of the leaders at 57 blocks in a non-violent, a non-law enforcement approach, but also the leader of Area 32, also the leader of Northwest Coalition, community groups that band together to make a difference. You just recognized one of my colleagues as Share Food. I want you to imagine this, is that you have a community without us, that we don't supply food, we don't supply trauma care, we don't supply crisis response, and it's just you and the police officers. We are all in this together, and we got to do it together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reuben Jones.
Good morning. I'll be very brief because I actually have to run, and I won't go through my credentials. I just want to share. Yesterday, I was at a site. 2 black men had a verbal altercation. And while I'm intervening, the one person called someone who came with the intent of committing violence against this other person, who came with a gun on his hip, ready to pull it out, who came because we had 2 black men who had mental health problems, one of them was probably high, they was full of anger, and had no conflict resolution skills. I'm looking around this room, I see young people. I brought 2 of our young people with us. I want all these young people under 18 or in high school to stand up, because I'm not here to advocate for 57 blocks or frontline dads. I'm here to advocate for these young people who walk over blood stains every day to get back and forth to school, who normalize loss, pain, and trauma, and we're standing here on their behalf to say, can we at least invest into their mental wellness, into their mental well-being? We started a project back in 21, School Safe Path, because a young man was killed outside of Rhodes Middle School, a middle school. And we volunteered there for a whole year. Didn't ask the city for a dime, didn't get a dime. But not one of those children that Vox has offered grief counseling, therapy, other than the preventions that we provide. So when Reverend Holston talked about the millions of dollars that the state is offering or putting up, I'm just here to advocate for the city to do the same thing. Meet them halfway. Half the people in this room, if the Eagles lose, we're depressed the next day. Imagine these children who go into school every day and never have their trauma and their pain addressed. That's all my plea is. Thank y'all for the time.
Thank you.
Dorothy Johnson Sprite. Can Reverend Jeanette Davis, Renee McDonald, Reverend James Fordham, and Rakia Lindsay also make their way to the podium? Dorothy Johnson Sprite. Spite, I'm sorry. Reverend Jeanette Davis. Renee McDonald. No. Reverend James Fordham.
It's not here.
Okay. Rakia Lindsay. Brahim Douglas. Oren Gur.
Good morning. My name is Oren Gur. I am Director of the District Attorney's Transparency Analytics Lab and a co-facilitator of the 57 Blocks Coalition. We as a city do not have a comprehensive place-based non-law enforcement strategy for reducing gun violence and addressing the associated trauma.
Real quick? Excuse me, Oren. And you know I'm all supportive of the activists because we work together. But just on the sake of staying on task, the resolution does talk about, and it's my resolution, calling on the General Assembly to provide funding for school-based mental health, so tie it in some aspect. Just want to be consistent.
Absolutely. So we are advocating for a place-based non-law enforcement strategy and providing a framework, and that strategy would seek to prioritize investing in the schools that are located on the 57 blocks with the most gun violence in the city of Philadelphia. There are place-based non-law enforcement strategies that have been shown to work but have never been taken to scale. They have been shown to work in Philadelphia but have never been taken to scale, including mental health resources in schools. To complement the criminal legal system, we need a strategy that seeks to address the underlying harm and restore communities independent of the criminal legal process. Unaddressed trauma can lead to more trauma, as you've heard, and the 57 blocks first identified by the Philadelphia Inquirer in September 2021, and all Philadelphia communities that have suffered disproportionate gun violence deserve holistic, place-based services and long-term trauma support, as well as intentional investment to counter racist policies of the past and present. And we have the data and the strategy to help Philadelphia prioritize those communities. I'm wearing a pin that says no data, no change. We have the data. We need the change and the bills and the checks. Thank you.
Thank you, Oren.
Leah Goldenberg. Lindsay Smiling, Fee Hall, and Gareth Hall also make their way to the podium.
Hi, I'm Lee Goldenberg, Managing Director of the Wilma Theater. This is Lindsay Smiling, Co-Artistic Director of the Wilma. We're here with the good news and the great thanks for honoring the Wilma's Tony Award for Regional Theater. The Wilma was founded as an artist collective in the 70s, established as the Wilma Theater by Blanca and Yuri Ziska, two refugees from the Czech Republic. In the late 90s, we were established as the first new theater on the Avenue of the Arts, and we continue today 45 years later.
Yes, our mission at the Wilma Theater is to create living, adventurous art. Yeah? Oh, sorry. My name is Lindsay Smiling. I am one of the co-artistic directors of the Wilma Theater. I also want to say I'm just very moved by being here and everybody who has spoken today. It's exactly the stuff we're trying to wrestle with at the Wilma Theater. This adventurous art that I spoke of in our mission statement. There's not a day that goes by that we're not contemplating the social issues and having conversations with our audiences, with our other community partners. And so this work of art is so important in bringing community together and wrestling with these issues that don't have easy answers. We have an actors cohort that is invested in by the Wilma, which is rare for any theater company in the country. Through the pandemic, we were able to pivot and keep artists employed, which enabled a production of Fat Ham that won the Pulitzer Prize, went to Broadway. And then now we've been recognized with the Tony Award, but this is really an award that is representative of what happens in Philadelphia and its art scene.
Yes, we are grateful to be the first in Pennsylvania to have received this recognition, but as you see us, there are hundreds of artists, dozens of companies in our region that demand your support. Beyond the great work that we do on stage, we are economic drivers. We are bringing billions of dollars of economic impact to the city and the region, and we thank you for the support of the arts, and we ask you to do more. Federal funding for the arts is one thing that helped us keep going. That is going away, and we look to you to make sure that we can keep bringing great stories to our stage, keep artists and audiences connected here in Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fee Hall, Gareth Hall. May Christina Thomas and Samuel Solomar also make their way to the podium.
First off, may I just point out that my wife's name is Faye, not Fee.
Good morning.
Morning.
We are Faye and Gareth Hall. We're the parents of Christian Hall. We are here to testify in support of Resolution 24077, introduced by Council Member Nina Ahmad, honoring the life of our son and urging the state Senate to pass House Bill 1305 during this Mental Health Month. On December 30, 2020, Christian called 911 about a suicidal person at the bridge. My son was heartbroken over a breakup. He was between counselors, and the world around him, the world around us, was in the midst of lockdown, isolation, fear, chaos, and uncertainty about COVID. That call was a cry for help. Instead of getting help, my son was shot and killed. My son was shot and killed. I believe that the outcome could have been different if the call was to 988 and the responder was someone appropriately trained in a mental health crisis. It has been 3 years, 145 days since then, and waking up without my son every day is a profound pain that I would never wish upon any parent. In spite of our pain, we remain relentless in advocating for better mental health support. In Pennsylvania, and the funding of 988. If resources like 988 are properly funded, we can avoid tragedies like the one we are living through.
We are honored by the introduction of this resolution and encouraged by the dedication of the City Council to our son's memory. As parents, friends, family, and members of our communities, we should all be compelled to advocate for change and for the passage of HB 1305. House Bill 1305 would fund 988 through a small cell phone fee and ensure that the counselors and staff are properly trained and educated. Pennsylvania can be a place where mental health services are readily accessible and known. We have an obligation to our communities, to our loved ones, to use our voices to prevent the loss of more precious lives.
We cannot bring our son back, but we can continue to work tirelessly to ensure that his life and memory are never forgotten, and that no one, child or adult, has to endure a mental health crisis alone. We thank Councilmember Nina Ahmad and every council member here, every volunteer who have worked tirelessly and walked this advocacy with us. We ask you today to pass House Bill 1305 to make sure that 988 is properly funded and counselors are appropriately trained and educated. Thank you.
Christina Thomas, Samuel Solomar, Stina Romanowskis, and Jane Gagliardo also make their way to the podium.
Good morning, City Council members. My name is Christina Thomas, and I am here as a volunteer with API-PA and to speak about Resolution 240477, honoring Christian Hall's life and urging the PA Senate to pass House Bill 1305. When I first heard about Christian's story, I was absolutely devastated, and those feelings only amplified when I learned more about him as a person. He was an Asian American like me, and he was a kid my age, dealing with mental health issues, which I can unfortunately relate to. I imagined myself in his situation, making that call, reaching out for help, and the prospect of getting killed in return is horrifying. What happened to Christian should never happen to anyone. Sadly, his experience isn't a unique one, as too many Pennsylvanians have been met with hostility, aggression, and fear instead of receiving care when calling the police for help. Parents should not have to mourn the death of their child, and a child should never have to handle a mental health crisis alone. No one should. And yet, all across Pennsylvania, people are left with no safe resources. During Mental Health Awareness Month and Asian American Pacific Heritage Month, Philadelphia has to face this growing crisis. People need access to mental health services in their times of vulnerability. Not only should these resources be available, but the people of PA must be guaranteed safety when they are experiencing a mental health crisis. As a resident of Philadelphia, I urge you to pass this resolution, because the best person to help a loved one going through a mental health crisis is a mental health professional. Thank you.
Samuel Solomar.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Samuel Solomon, and I sit on the board of directors for Touchstone Foundation. It's a nonprofit that's dedicated to providing young people with mental health resources that they need. And today I'm here to support resolution number 240477 and House Bill 1305, which honors the life of Christian Hall and provides a stream of funding for 988, the Suicide and Mental Health Hotline. Coming from an immigrant household where mental health is just something you don't talk about, or if you work hard enough, you won't have these issues, I've struggled with dealing with depression and anxiety undiagnosed for a big portion of my life. My junior year of high school is when everything inside of me grew and culminated in me in experiencing my first mental health crisis, and the first time I experienced suicidal thoughts and decided I was ready to leave this life I was living behind. At the time, my father was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer, and I was in the midst of planning out the next steps of my life. And at the time, the pressure of just being alive felt like too much. My familial support system at the time was focused on my dad, and I had a lot of shame feeling like this because I was taught that these emotions I was experiencing weren't real, so discussing them with friends was something that I just didn't want to do. I felt like I had no help or support, and all it was going to take was for someone to just talk to me and listen. And fortunately, I was stopped by a friend who texted and called me. When you're in this headspace, you're not only a risk to yourself, but also a risk to others knowingly or unknowingly. Christian Hall should be alive today, and to know that there's still a possibility that someone experiencing a mental health crisis will encounter someone not equipped with the skills to deal with the situation is a scary thought, and it shouldn't be a thought at all. 988 should be funded, and I urge everyone to support this bill and provide people going through similar situations as Christian Hall with the resources when they need it, and not just become another statistic. Thank you.
Stina Romanowskis, Jane Gagliardo, and Brittany O'Neill.
Hi, good morning. I'm Stina Romanowskis. I am here to testify in support of Resolution 240477, introduced by Council Member Nina Ahmad, and it honors the life of Christian Hall. I'm here as an ally, advocate, and a friend of the Halls, and I know that Asian Americans are the least likely racial group to reach out to professionals for help with their mental health, and are more likely to reach out to friends and family. However, not all Asian Americans have a strong support system and have difficulty expressing their challenges due to mental health challenges being stigmatized, or even not being able to speak the same language as people within their community. Today, a person experiencing a mental health crisis is more likely to encounter law enforcement than to receive treatment or crisis intervention. Due to lack of access to alternatives, law enforcement can spend 1/5 of its time responding to and transporting individuals with mental illness to emergency departments or jails. Again, I am here as a friend, ally, and advocate, and I call for you to pass Resolution 240477. Christian Hall should be alive today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jane Gagliardo, and I am here in support of the Christian Hall, Justice for Christian Hall. I urge you, please, to pass Resolution 240477 in regard to this tragic death of this young man. I look around this room, and I am also a fellow council member of the East Stroudsburg Borough Council, but I'm not here for that today. I'm here because I'm a grandmother of 2 Asian little girls. And as I said, when I look around this room, that horrible, tragic day on that bridge could have been any one of us, and it could have been my grandchildren. So please, I urge you to please pass this resolution. It is a tragic thing that we continue to do this. Growing up in a home of mental illness and abuse, myself, all those years ago, here we are today in the 21st century and still do not have the funding that is needed to help people with mental illness. So again, please consider passing this resolution. And this urges the PA Senate to pass House Bill 1305. Thank you.
Brittany O'Neill. Can Charles Miller, William Cavish, and Lynn Landis also make their way to the podium?
Good morning, City Council. My name is Brittany O'Neill. I work at Mental Health Partnerships. I'm here in support of Resolution 240477, which honors the life of Christian Hall and urges Pennsylvania State Senate to pass House Bill 1305 and celebrate Mental Health Month. House Bill, introduced by Senate Rep. Stephen King, would provide a dedicated fund to 998 through a small cell phone fee. The first step is creating a 988 program. The second step is calling on Harrisburg to fully fund this program. Unfortunately, Pennsylvania has yet to fund this program, and it remains one of the few states that has. About 10 years ago, I survived a suicide attempt. Since then, I have learned that mental health is a continuous process. It does not end after leaving an inpatient facility. We always need your support. Here today, I battle depression, bipolar disorder, and suicide ideation on the weekly. Recently, I was faced with new challenges. Even with a job working in mental health, I turned to 988 for them to help me when I needed it most. A crisis worker named Billy provided me with immediate assistance and reassurance when I needed it most. Suicide is a pressing issue, a public issue, and an issue that faces our Philadelphians here today. This bill not only helps the thousands of people in this room, or hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people across Pennsylvania, but it helps your kids, your family members. Ensuring 988 is properly funded means anyone in Philadelphia at any time can get the critical help they need. It saves lives, including mine. By investing in this, we're investing in the future of our well-being and future of Philadelphians. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Charles Miller, William Cavish, then Lynn Landis, and James Petrozzoni.
My name is Charles Miller, and I'm here with my friend, Dr. Cavish. We're representing the Germantown Jewish Center, who is very grateful for the members of this council to support creating a special boundary in our community, the purpose of which will make it much easier for young families to fully participate in the life of our community. And we'd like to especially thank the office of Councilmember Cindy Bass and Rue Landau, who made this possible, and we're very grateful. Thank you.
I'm Dr. William Cavish, a member of the Germantown Jewish Center. I just want to add that I'm personally aware of a number of families who would like to move to the vicinity of Germantown Jewish Center, and passage of this ordinance will facilitate their capacity to move to our neighborhood.
James Petrozzoni, sorry. Robert Harris and Nadira Griffin also make their way to the podium.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Landis of healthalertphilly.org regarding Resolution 240484. Many people are concerned about the proliferation of pot smoking, as well as the secondhand effect it has on the public health. Marijuana is not a harmless herb. It is addictive and has psychological and physical negative impact on its users. It may also have some medicinal benefits, but if so, should be prescribed by a doctor. In my and many other neighborhoods, and frankly throughout the nation, the public is now routinely exposed to marijuana smoke. Friends of mine who live in the city as well as in the suburbs are being exposed to their neighbors' pot smoking. A close relative and her children who lived in Port Richmond, where their next door neighbor daily smoked pot that could be smelled inside of her home. She recently moved to Pennsport, where again, her near neighbor smokes pot and it drifts into her house. We need to take a long, hard, and honest look at the use of marijuana and its serious harmful side effects on the public health, which is why I also recommend the book, Tell Your Children the Truth About Marijuana, Mental Illness and Violence by Alex Berenson. Thank you very much.
James Petruzone, Robert Harris, then Nadira Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. Respect and gratitude to all of you speaking out for a more just and peaceful society. My name is James Petricone. I am here on behalf of a fellow citizen in support of Bill number 240118. This bill affects any person, corporation, trust, or any other legal entity that provide any commodity or service, both tangible or intangible. Presumably, the provision of college degrees and all associated services fall within that purview. This bill aims to discourage engaging in any fraudulent or deceptive conduct which creates a likelihood of confusion or of misunderstanding. This directly applies to university presidents sending out community-wide emails rife with misinformation and disinformation, from Drexel's President Fry falsely claiming that he had ever tried to establish communication with the Drexel student encampment, or to Penn's interim President Jameson falsely calling the encampment there a danger to the community. Money that could have funded hundreds of scholarships was instead used to unleash hundreds of riot police against sleeping students at 5:30 in the morning at UPenn encampment. They shredded medical supplies, tents, even laptops directly into a trash compactor in an incredible misuse of taxpayer dollars. University encampments like these bring attention to the encampments in Palestine, such as the Jabalia refugee camp, which is at this moment being bombed. The people residing there have already been displaced 3 or 4 times. Many have lost family due to Israeli bombing or artificial famine. Today, camp residents are being torn to shreds in the streets, their families unable to retrieve their bodies.
Hey, James,
there is no functioning hospital.
How you doing, sir? Could you stick to the topic that's germane to 240118, which is protection for consumers, bill sponsored by Councilmember
Bill
Ruland.
240118 penalizes those who ignore, obstruct, and fail to promptly grant their consumers' request to cancel a service or product subscription. The student organizers, your constituents, wish for their tuition to no longer fund the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. Section 2 of Bill 240118 states that this ordinance shall become effective immediately. As soon as this bill is passed, there must be an immediate investigation and action filed against universities who lie to our communities and profit from war crimes. Ceasefire now, solidarity forever, liberty and justice for Palestine and oppressed peoples the world over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Harris, Nadira Griffin, Obona Hagins, and Toshito Abe.
Good morning, Council President and Council members. My name is Robert Harris. I'm the Vice President and Legislative Director for AFSCME, District Council 47. I'm here to speak on the resolution introduced this morning about return to work, introduced by Council Member Harity. The members of AFSCME District Council 47 seek your support in retaining alternative work schedules, including hybrid work schedules. We were disheartened to hear about the mayor's office and their implementation to return to full-time on-site work for municipal employees who have worked hybrid work schedules for many years. The union stands firm that alternative work schedules are a negotiable subject of bargaining. For decades, there have been productive conversations and negotiations between the City of Philadelphia and its employees regarding exploration of alternative and flexible work schedules, which may improve the delivery of public services, attract diverse candidates to city employment, and improve the morale and productivity of city workers. Mayor Parker has commented that the people of Philadelphia deserve a government they can see, touch, and feel, and that it's impossible to do this if our unparalleled city workers are working virtually. This comment fails to consider the many municipal employees' positions that have successfully served the City of Philadelphia pre-COVID and during the pandemic. To fully understand and appreciate the perspective of the city workers regarding the return to work and return to office policy, it is imperative for the administration, City Council, to have good faith discussions with the city workers and the community to understand the cost and the benefits of the return to office policy. We ask that you support and vote to pass this resolution, and that you support us in our conversation with the City of Philadelphia during that public hearing. Thank you.
Nadira Griffin. Obona Hagins. Tashado Abi.
1 second, Obama. Here's Nadira right here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Lord have mercy. Good morning, Council. Hi, my name is Nadira Griffin. I am the Philadelphia Community Ambassador for all City Councilmatic districts. Today, I am here to speak on the resolutions 240, 183, 240, 184, and 240, 191. I am in support of the resolutions. It is talking about parking. Well, parking is important to all of us. So with this regentrification and the copious amount of buildings that are built here in Philadelphia, it's causing problems for the long-term residents. It's causing problems for people who have been living, born, raised, and reside in Philadelphia for years, for decades. I know myself, I experience sleep deprivation because there is a hard time getting parking. We're asking council to make some kind of provisions, some type of regulations where people who have resided in Philadelphia for long periods of time, for years, that we can park in front of our doors. Often, if I am not able to get to my home by 4 or 5 o'clock, it takes me 3, 6 hours, and sometimes 8 hours, causing me to stay the night over family members' homes. And I know that there are many people who are experiencing this as well. Also, you have where now cars are being removed from our homes. Well, many people are leaving their vehicles parked on their blocks because if you go off to work 5 days a week, you come back and you can't get parking. Sleep deprivation causes mental health illness. Sleep deprivation causes circulation problems and heart problems. So we're asking that you all give us a quality of life while you're permitting people to come outside into our city, redlining us here in Philadelphia and building homes, these real estate moguls. What about the people that already reside here? We need a quality of life here in Philadelphia, so we're asking you to be cognizant. We're asking you to incorporate some regulations where we park in front of our doors because we need a quality of life. And thank you.
Thank you.
Obona Hagins.
Before I start, can I request something, Council President? You know how I speak, right? A lot of times when I speak, the subject is not in the beginning, so I'm asking that you don't interrupt me because you throw me off. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. My name is Obona Hagins. You all know me. I'm the unseated council president here in Philadelphia. All right? What's so funny? I mean, see, the thing is, people are getting married.
Please
proceed,
proceed,
please
sir.
proceed, Council President, because your colleagues are laughing, and we getting people murdered. People are being murdered every day in this city. It's no laughing matter. You have a colleague over there, I don't know who he is. He's laughing when I come up here and announce who I am, and I don't appreciate it. Structural Racism Prevention Month is a month to let all citizens of Philadelphia know exactly what structural racism is. You do remember the Roadmap to Safer Communities, which was published in 2021, which indicated with no uncertain terms that the root cause of gun violence is structural racism, and the solution is large-scale investments in the areas that have been decimated by crime, violence, unemployment, et cetera, et cetera. Councilwoman Nina Ahmad, welcome to council. You're an immigrant in this country, and so is Kamala Harris, the vice president. You and all immigrants of all so-called color owe the American freedmen a debt of gratitude for being here. So I demand that you add an addendum to this resolution to include Structural Racism Prevention Month as part of this resolution, because the root cause of all this gun violence, according to the study, is structural racism. So how do we even address these issues if the citizens don't know what structural racism is? You guys have been ghosting me for months now. And by the way, Councilwoman Ahmad, I called you 3 weeks ago. And I left a message in your office, and I didn't get a return call, as well as Councilwoman Cindy Bass. I was told that I may get a call back. Is this how you treat your constituents in this city? And by the way, thank you, Councilwoman Gardier, for having the reparations task force, but the task force should be funded. And the task force should be fully funded. And the mayor, the American freedman mayor, she should be ashamed that she was not there yesterday. Imagine if she was LGBTQ and there was an LGBTQ event that was the first of its kind. She would be there. The American freedman mayor needs to represent the pain that the descendants of slavery who saved this country by winning the Civil War. You need to respect that, and everyone needs to respect what the American freedmen have done. Obona Hagins, fourth generation chattel slavery survivor, and the unseated council president and an American freedman. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Tashido Abi. Tashido Abi. I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The T is silent. Sahaitu Abi. Hello. Again, my name is Sahaitu Abi. It's like say hi to. First, I'd like to thank you all for providing. I'm sorry. First, I'd like to thank you all for providing an opportunity for public comment on the cannabis rescheduling resolution introduced by Councilmember Kendra Brooks. Again, my name is Sahaitu Abi, and I'm an Ethiopian American native in Philadelphia. My journey began with me growing up between Philadelphia and Hawaii. The unique personal experiences in my upbringing led to my advocacy in adulthood around reshaping perceptions of cannabis. Due to cannabis-related activities, my father was deported, leading to a painful 20-year separation. Ironically, it was only through my work on a legal cannabis farm years later in California that I was able to reunite with him, in Ethiopia, of course. Today, as the owner of Black Dragon Breakfast Club and a leader in the Black and immigrant social justice space, I advocate for equitable treatment and opportunities for marginalized communities. While I do not support the classification of cannabis as a scheduled drug, I firmly advocate for the decriminalization of cannabis possession in Philadelphia. Furthermore, I wholeheartedly support the rescheduling resolution because I believe that equitably distributing cannabis sales revenue is more than a matter of economic gain. It is a necessary stride toward societal progress. Cannabis possesses medicinal and therapeutic properties that can improve the lives of many when used responsibly and with proper knowledge. Despite my disagreement with the commodification of nature's medicine, I acknowledge the economic value of cannabis in our society. The resolution's intent to ensure an equitably distributed cannabis sales revenue that restores and repairs communities historically targeted by the war on drugs deeply resonates with me. However, to truly achieve equity, I urge we implement the following recommendations. Number one, community reinvestment programs. I ask that we allocate a significant portion of cannabis tax revenue to programs that support public schools, affordable housing, job training, and healthcare services in communities disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. Number two, equity programs for business ownership. I ask that we allocate resources to programs that provide financial assistance, technical support, and regulatory assistance to Black entrepreneurs seeking to enter the legal cannabis industry. These programs should prioritize equity in business ownership and participation. Number 3, expungement and legal aid services. I ask that we allocate resources towards expungement programs and legal aid services to assist individuals with past cannabis-related convictions in clearing their records and addressing legal barriers. Number 4, workforce development and training. I ask that we institute workforce development programs tailored to the cannabis industry, offering training and job placement assistance to individuals from marginalized communities, including Black populations. Number 5, community ownership and cooperative models. I encourage the development of community-owned cannabis businesses and cooperative models that prioritize collective ownership and decision-making, ensuring that profits from the cannabis industry directly benefit social residents. And 2 of the most important, and lastly, number 6, social equity licensing policies. Make sure we implement social equity licensing policies that prioritize individuals from communities disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs when awarding cannabis business licenses, including fee waivers, priority processing, and set aside for equity applicants. Number 7, transparency and accountability measures. Establish transparent reporting mechanisms to track the allocation and distribution of cannabis tax revenue, ensuring that funds are used effectively to benefit Black communities, and implement oversight committees or advisory boards composed of community representatives to provide input and oversight on fund allocation. By implementing these recommendations, policymakers can ensure that cannabis taxation revenue is equitably distributed. True equity must address historical injustices and foster economic empowerment and social equity within Black and other harmed communities. Thank you very much, and again, my name is Sahaitu Abi.
Council President, there are no other names for public comment.
That concludes today's public comment period. We will now consider today's bill consent agenda. I will ask that the chief clerk read the titles of all the bills on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the bill on the consent agenda. Upon such an objection and without debate, the bill will be removed immediately from the consent agenda and placed on our regular second reading and final passage calendars. The clerk will now read the titles of the bills on the consent agenda.
Bill number 240119, an ordinance authorizing encroachments in the nature of 2 new light poles and 3 existing light poles in the vicinity of the south, east, and northwest corners of John F. Kennedy Boulevard and North Broad Streets, and the northeast corner of John F. Kennedy Boulevard and North Juniper Street, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 240183, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Hoffman Street between South 19th Street and South 20th Street, Pierce Street between South 17th Street and South 18th Street, Pierce Street between South 21st Street and South 20th Street, Siegel Street between South 22nd Street and South 23rd Street, McClellan Street between South 18th Street and South 17th Street, McClellan Street between South 19th Street and South 18th Street, McClellan Street between South 20th Street and South 19th Street, Jackson Street between South 15th Street and South 16th Street, Jackson Street between South 19th Street and South 20th Street, McKean Street between South 20th Street and South 21st Street. Bill number 240184, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of South 18th Street between Reed Street and Wharton Street, South 18th Street between Dickerson Street and Reed Street, South 18th Street between Tasker Street and Dickinson Street, Oakford Street between South 24th Street and South 25th Street, Oakford Street between South 22nd Street and South 23rd Street, South 19th Street between Dickinson Street and Tasker Street, South 21st Street between Tasker Street and Morris Street, Manton Street between South 20th Street and South 19th Street, Bancroft Street between Tasker Street and Morris Street, Alter Street between South 22nd Street and South 21st Street. 240191, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Norris Street between Belgrade Street and Gall Street, Ritter Street between Dolphin Street and Norris Street, York Street between Mercer Street and Thompson Street, Haggard Street between Cedar Street and Gall Street, Wishart Street between Frankfurt Avenue and Emerald Street, Delancey Street between South 2nd Street and South Front Street, Front Street between Spruce Street and Pine Street, Spruce Street between South 2nd Street and South 3rd Street. 240221, an ordinance authorizing the Procurement Commissioner to enter into a contract for the construction of a sewer and appurtenant work required to provide public sewer service in the 600 and 700 blocks of Hendren Street under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 240239, an ordinance authorizing encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe in the vicinity of 2201 Christian Street, Philadelphia, PA, property under certain terms and conditions. 240240, an ordinance amending Section 9-203 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Sales to revise and clarify certain provisions related to city parks and recreation facilities and make related technical changes all under certain terms and conditions. 240243, an ordinance authorizing an encroachment in the nature of a staircase in the vicinity of 1951 East Monmouth Street, Philadelphia, PA 19134, under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 240250, an ordinance authorizing the installation, ownership, and maintenance of various encroachments along the 700 block of Sansom Street, Philadelphia, PA 19106, under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 240282, an ordinance granting permission to Germantown Jewish Center to demarcate the boundaries of a Germantown Eruv district to construct and maintain a clear nylon cord and/or plastic tubes and other ancillary device facilities, including a maximum of 10 poles long, over and in certain public rights-of-way and city streets, and/or to attach such demarcation facilities to existing facilities owned by other entities authorized by other city ordinances, subject to such owner's consent, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 240301, an ordinance authorizing encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe in the vicinity of 6516 Castor Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19149, under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 240302, an ordinance establishing a no parking regulation on the south side of Wise's Mill Road between Henry Avenue and Forbidden Drive. 240329, an ordinance establishing a no parking regulation on the west side of North 34th Street between Indiana Avenue and Clearfield Street. Bill number 240331, an ordinance amending Section 9-215 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Streeteries, modifying requirements related to the city's revised standards and requirements associated with the use of portions of right-of-way for outdoor dining. Bill number 240334, an ordinance amending Chapter 12-2700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Permit Parking Districts by changing certain boundaries and establishing new permit parking districts, all under certain terms and conditions. 240335, an ordinance amending Chapter 12-2700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Permit Parking Districts by extending the authorized duration of temporary parking permits and setting new permit application fees, all under certain terms and conditions. And Bill number 240118, an ordinance amending Title IX, Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions of the Philadelphia Code to add a new chapter concerning protections for consumers against unfair methods of competition and unfair or deceptive acts or practices, and providing remedies, all under certain terms and conditions.
These bills having been read on 2 different days, the question for each bill now is, shall the bills pass finally? The clerk shall call the roll, and upon being called, each council member shall vote aye on each of the bills, nay on each of the bills, or indicate those bills for which the member is voting aye and those bills for which the member is voting nay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Phillips. Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. Councilmember Gautier. Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Landau. Councilmember Losada. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Harity. Councilmember O'Rourke. Councilmember Driscoll voted aye. Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Squilla. Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Ahmad. Councilmember Landau. And Council President Johnson.
Aye on all bills. A majority of all the members having voted in the affirmative for each of the bills on the consent agenda are passed. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar. Will the clerk please read the title for resolution number 240477?
240477, introduced by Councilmember Ahmad. Resolution honoring the life of Christian Hall, urging the Pennsylvania State Senate to pass House Bill 1305, and recognizing both Asian Pacific American Heritage Month and Mental Health Awareness Month.
The clerk recognizes Nina Ahmad for a motion regarding resolution number 240477.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that resolution number 240477 be adopted. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries, and the resolution is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of resolution number 240484?
A resolution celebrating the removal of cannabis from Schedule I of the Federal Controlled Substances Act and recognizing the urgent need for equitably distributed cannabis sales revenue that restores and repairs communities historically targeted by the war on drugs, and calling on the legislature of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to legalize and equitably tax cannabis.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion regarding resolution number 240484. Bless you.
Bless you. Good morning, Council President. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
It has been moved and properly second that resolution number 240484 be adopted. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries. The resolution is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of resolution number 240486?
A resolution renaming the 2700 block of Germantown Avenue Leo Rosenblum Way to honor Leo Rosenblum for his significant contributions to the community and his outstanding legacy in business.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Harity for a motion regarding resolution number 240486.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution number 240486 be adopted. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries. The resolution is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of bill number 240012-A?
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Queen Lane, Wissahickon Avenue, Roosevelt Boulevard Extended, and Henry Avenue, and to amend Section 14-524 of the Philadelphia Code entitled FDO, 4th District Overlay District, and make related changes all under certain terms and conditions.
This bill having been read on 2 different days, the question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Will the chief clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Phillips. Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. Councilmember Gautier. Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Landau. Councilmember Losada. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Harity. Councilmember O'Rourke. Councilmember Driscoll voted aye. Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Squilla. Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Ahmad. Councilmember Ahmad. And Council President Johnson.
Aye. The ayes are 17, the nays are 0. The majority of all members having voted in the affirmative, the bill passes. Will the clerk please read the title of bill number 240220?
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Red Lion Road, the Montgomery County line, the Bucks County line, and Roosevelt Boulevard.
The chair recognizes Councilmember O'Neill for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer an amendment to bill number 240220
A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and I move for the adoption of the amendment.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 240220 be adopted. All in favor will indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the bill has been amended. This bill will be placed on the final passage calendar for our next session of council. Will the clerk please read the title of Bill number 240376?
That's being held.
Being held? Okay. Will the clerk please read the title of Bill number 240119?
That was on consent agenda. We're done the calendar.
Okay. Thank you. The clerk will please read any additional resolutions on today's calendar.
A resolution recognizing and congratulating Alani High School teacher Luz Marcela Alva de la Rosa for being honored with the Christian R. and Mary F. Lindback Foundations Award for Distinguished Teachers, introduced by Councilmember Phillips.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Phillips for a motion on the resolution.
Thank you, Council President. I move for adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Philadelphia Freeway by declaring June 1st, 2024, Philadelphia Freeway Day in the city of Philadelphia, celebrating the outstanding contributions of Philadelphia Freeway and his organization, Freedom Thinkers Academy, introduced by Councilmember Thomas on behalf of Council President Johnson.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Council President, on your behalf, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
Honoring and congratulating April Verrett, the first African-American woman to become president of the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to thank my colleague, Councilmember Jamie Gaudier, as well as the chair of our Labor Committee, Councilmember Harity, and of course, congratulations to April. We move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Clerk, please read the title of the next resolution.
A resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings to explore existing partnerships between cultural institutions and schools in the city of Philadelphia and to evaluate the benefits of expanding these partnerships, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. This is an issue that we're going to look to explore as it relates to making sure that we have the proper partners with our schools. So we want to assess where some gaps might be. I'm looking forward to working with my district council members to identify areas of schools who don't have those arts and culture institutions working with those with our academic places, so we can make sure young people and families have support. So with that being said, Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Will clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
A resolution declaring the month of May in 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia, and further honoring Dr. Taliba Foster for her work in the field of mental health, introduced by Councilmember Jones.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Curtis Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
Authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold public hearings to examine, understand, and unveil the resources website developed as a result of the Parent University 2.0, introduced by Councilmember Jones.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
Honoring and recognizing Coded by Kids for for preparing underrepresented people for leadership roles within the tech and startup space, introduced by Council Member Landau.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Rue Landau.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Would the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
Recognizing and congratulating the Wilma Theater for receiving the 2024 Regional Theater Tony Award and celebrating the Wilma's outstanding contributions to the world of theater and Philadelphia's diverse and vibrant arts and cultural landscape, introduced by Councilmember Landau.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Rue Landau.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Would the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
Honoring and congratulating students from the Benjamin Franklin High School Building Trades and Property Maintenance Program for their 100% passing rate of the National Occupational Competency Testing Institute exam, introduced by Councilmember Young.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Young for a motion on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Would the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
A resolution celebrating May as Bicycle Awareness Month, recognizing the vibrant Philadelphia bicycling community and calling for comprehensive bike lane accessibility across the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilmember Brooks.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Would the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
Authorizing the City Council Committee on Labor and Civil Service to hold public hearings on the administration's proposed return to office policy and the impact on the city's workforce, introduced by Councilmember Harity.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Harity.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Would the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
Proclaiming May 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month in celebration of America's local governments and the National League of Cities Historic Centennial Anniversary, introduced by Councilmember O'Neill.
The chair recognizes Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Councilor Biedes for the chair recognizes Councilmember.
I have to read the title first. Sorry.
The chair recognizes Chief Clerk to please read the title of the next resolution.
Recognizing and honoring the students at Imhotep Institute Charter High School STEM program for their dedication as change makers, ready to tackle humanity's most pressing challenges with determination and innovation, introduced by Councilmember Bass.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing May 25, 2024 as National Missing Children's Day in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilmember Ahmad.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Ahmad.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing May 2024 as ALS Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilmember Ahmad.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Ahmad.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Would the clerk please read the title of the next resolution?
A resolution authorizing the Council of the City of Philadelphia to hold hearings on the use and occupancy of 2100 West Girard Avenue by the City of Philadelphia and its contractors in furtherance of such investigation, authorizing the issuance of subpoenas to compel the attendance of the Parker administration officials, including the mayor and other such witnesses, and the production of documents to the full extent authorized under Section 2-401 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, introduced by Councilmember Young.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions in my possession, Council President.
That completes the calendar for today. Are there any brief speeches on behalf of the minority? The chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. On Tuesday of this week, we launched our reparation task force with the goal of studying proposals to repair harm of structural racism, and we want to work with Black Philadelphians to find and support folks who have endured centuries of injustice. At the same time, across the hall, the Committee on Public Health held a hearing on overdose crisis in the Black community. I didn't plan on these two events taking place at the same time, but it helped to show how these two topics are deeply intertwined. Historically, Black men have been targeted at the highest rate of the drug crimes. And now, 40 years after the start of the war on drugs, Black men aged 45 to 65 have the highest rate of accidental overdoses in Philadelphia. This is not a coincidence. This is in part why I introduced a resolution last week applauding the Biden administration's recent announcement that they would reschedule marijuana classification. Over 40 years ago, President Ronald Reagan classified marijuana as a Schedule I drug. And for those who may not know, that a Schedule I drug means that it has no medical value and it comes with heightened penalties and restrictions about how the government can use it. This was part of an effort to criminalize and incarcerate Black men as part of the war on drugs. Since then, arrests and imprisonments for marijuana marijuana use have destroyed the lives of thousands of people. Despite the criminalization of marijuana, new data shows that it has surpassed daily alcohol use in our country, which is a far more destructive substance. For decades, this classification has served to pretext of harassment, arrests, and imprison Black people. To this day, despite similar usage rates amongst white people, Black folks still have 3 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession. And we cannot repeat these mistakes as we look at how our city is handling a public health crisis. With the resolution we passed today, City Council acknowledges the racist history of drug enforcement in this country and celebrates the reclassification of cannabis by President Joe Biden's administration. We also call on Harrisburg to legalize and tax marijuana in a way that acknowledges the destructive war on drugs has had in the Black communities, and it is way beyond past time for this to happen. I also want to thank my colleagues for their attendance and participation in 2 other hearings this week on my legislative priorities. Yesterday morning, my legislation to grant a priority bid to the land bank was voted out of the Committee on Public Property. By passing this legislation, we will be streamlining the processes for putting vacant properties to productive use and granting ownerships of neighborhood gardens to the community who have been caring for them for years. I look forward to touring more community gardens this summer and continue to work on this important issue. Yesterday afternoon, the Housing Committee voted on the eviction diversion legislation that I co-introduced with Chair Gautier, Minority Whip O'Rourke, and Councilmember Landau. I am immensely proud of our city for taking this step to preserve and build upon an effective, popular, and nationally acclaimed program. One of our city's best tools for preventing permanent eviction records and keeping people in their homes. I look forward to next week's council session when we will vote on both the priority bid and the eviction diversion legislation. Today, I also introduce a resolution, May as Bicycle Awareness Month. Philadelphia is home to thousands of riders who are saving money, improving their health, and reducing congestion and pollution by choosing to ride bikes. We have a popular bike share program and a growing network of bike trails to make it easier to explore and enjoy our city. In a recent meeting I had with the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Services and the Bicycle Coalition, I was excited to learn about the Indigo's program to expand programs over the next few years. Introducing Into My Neighborhood of Nicetown, Tioga. For those who may not know, there are currently discounted passes and monthly rates in celebration of May as Bicycle Awareness Month. You can check out rideindigo.com or connect with my office to hear more about this program. We've known how important bike infrastructure is and its role in transforming the community to make it more accessible for everyone. And I want to shout out Councilmember Isaiah Thomas for his work in this area and leadership pushing for safer streets. With this resolution, I hope to educate those who may not know about our city's options for affordable bike use. And I want to thank the entire bike community for their activism in Philadelphia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any brief speeches on behalf of the majority? The chair recognizes council members. Oh, okay, let me go back. Councilmember Nicholas O'Rourke.
Thank you, Council President. I echo everything my leader said, but in the spirit of brief speeches, I'll hyper-focus on the one. I share in the gratefulness to hear about the President's decision to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule I to a Schedule III controlled substance. That change actually can sound like a small shift, but it'll make a really big difference, as we've heard already today. It's move is a big step forward for cannabis research. 38 states have medical marijuana programs because there are many palliative uses for cannabis. And now research in this vein will only expand as a result of that. On a fiscal note, businesses selling Schedule I substances can't deduct rent, payroll, or other expenses that other businesses write off. But these rules don't apply to Schedule III substances. These tax policies are one big reason why people most impacted by the punitive war on drugs policies have struggled to benefit from legalization. And this change can and should lead to a more diverse landscape. So in a celebratory spirit, Leader Brooks and I introduced that resolution praising this federal policy shift because there's so much space for growth in the sector. The Commonwealth and the city should take this moment to reconsider legalization so that Pennsylvania doesn't miss the benefits. States that have made that move, including basically all of our neighbors, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, yeah, even old red Ohio beat us to the punch and are raking in millions of dollars in tax revenue. The 23 states that have legalized cannabis reported over $20 billion in revenue, that's what it be, in just the first quarter of this year. Decriminalization is a great start, but legalization is how we truly make this materially beneficial for those who smoke and those who don't. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. The chair recognizes, are there any speeches on behalf of the majority? Brief speeches. The chair recognizes the gentleman from South Philadelphia, Councilmember Mark Squilla.
Thank you.
I don't know how you scoop Kurt because he usually, at the top, so I'll try to figure that out, but Councilmember Squilla.
Real quick, I just want to say there'll be lunch across in the caucus room as there'll be a briefing on the city flag right after this, and the first historical city flag in the country, and how it will be correlated and worked into the 2026 And there will be food provided. Thanks.
Thank you very much. What time would that be, Councilmember Squilla? What time? Immediately after council
Right,
session.
after the short speeches.
Thank you very much. The chair recognizes Councilmember Nina Ahmad.
Thank you, Council President. I have not been here for a couple of Thursdays, and therefore have many people to thank, starting with you, Mr. President. First, thank you for granting my requests for leaves of absence. Among other things, they allowed me to represent this body in front of our vibrant AAPI communities and brag about the amazing work of my colleagues during AAPI Heritage Month. Also, thank you for entrusting me with your resolution calling on Harrisburg to allocate funding, full funding for school-based health centers. Meeting children where they already are just makes sense, especially when they come from underserved communities. Like you, Mr. President, I dream of a future when kids can get their checkups, vaccinations, injury care, reproductive health care, and mental health screenings and treatment in places they already know and visit and learn every day, their schools. So I join you in urging our friends in Harrisburg to help kids thrive, and here in Philadelphia and across the Commonwealth. I also want to thank Madam Majority Leader for introducing resolutions on my behalf in my absence. One for the TEDx Dilworth Park, one of the several amazing events that help put Philadelphia's intellectual and cultural scene on the global stage, and one we all adopted today in the memory of Christian Hall, which also urges full funding of the 988 mental health emergency line that might have saved his life, and had it been available in 2020 when he needed that help. So on behalf of myself and the co-sponsors of that resolution, Council President Johnson, Council Members Jones, Bass, Quilla, Gilmore, Richardson, Landau, O'Rourke, and Phillips, I want to thank the Christians' family and friends for being here today. Your powerful advocacy is leading to real reform in the way we respond to mental health crisis. I thank you, and I promise you that Christians' memory will be kept alive to make sure that we are able to make change in his name. That resolution speaks to how we care about for and one another. The resolution I introduced with Councilmember Jones recognizing ALS Awareness Month, and the one I introduced recognizing National Missing Children's Day, which was prompted by my constituent, Pam Dabney, who talks to me via Twitter. And thank you for all the members who co-sponsored it, Harity, Lozada, Phillips, Landau, Bass, O'Rourke, Gilmore, Richardson, Thomas, Driscoll, and Brooks. Also speaks to a future where we help each other more, hurt each other less, and recognize and uplift our common humanity. Our common humanity means nothing, of course, if we don't have a livable planet. The electric vehicle maintenance, the EV maintenance bill that I introduced today, brings our city one small step closer to our stated climate goals by establishing minimum standards of operationality across publicly accessible charging infrastructure. I look forward to a constructive dialogue when it gets heard in committee in a couple of weeks. I want to thank my colleagues who co-sponsored that piece of legislation. Council members Driscoll, Brooks, Gilmore, Richardson, O'Rourke, Bass, Landau, Phillips, Lozada, and Harity, and the many stakeholders across the administration and in labor and private industry who provided valuable insight during this process. I must also thank very specially Kira Halma and Sarah Dinald from my staff who have been ably shepherding this bill through the legislative process. Thank you again, Council President, for giving me this time to express 3 weeks' worth of saved-up gratitude. I'm proud to be a part of a body that never stops thinking about solving problems and improving the lives of the people we serve. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Landau.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I will be as brief as possible. First, I want to thank Coded by Kids for joining us today for our presentation. For a decade, Coded by Kids has provided tech education to over 2,000 children across 30 locations in 3 states, including right here in Philadelphia. In 2023 alone, they provided programming to 350 youth and over 600 adults. As chair of the Tech Committee, I support their mission to help unrepresented young people springboard into the tech and startup space, and as a legislative body, we wish them another successful 10 years ahead. I'd also like to shift gears for a moment and thank my colleagues for their conversations and support of my outdoor dining bill, which passed today, giving restaurants another lifeline as these small businesses continue to rebuild coming out of the pandemic. I hope to continue a dialogue with all of you over the summer and into the second half of the year around continuing to support small businesses and restaurants across the city. And I know that the restaurants and chefs that my office has been engaging with are very grateful for this step, and we look forward to more. I'd also like to talk, excited about the consumer protection bill that passed today. As a former community legal services attorney, this piece of legislation is near and dear to my heart. We are one of the last big cities without a consumer protection bill like this one, and it will give power to consumers who are victims of fraud and bad actors. Low-income people across the city are often one scam away from falling back into poverty or losing their home, their car, or having a massive disruption in their lives. While long-term, I look forward to the potential of a designated consumer protection office, this bill is a great first step, and I thank my colleagues and the mayor for supporting this. Finally, I'd like to shout out the Wilma Theater for receiving the 2024 Regional Tony Award. The Wilma continues to provide outstanding contributions to the world of theater and Philadelphia's diverse and vibrant arts and cultural landscape. And this honorary resolution will provide the theater today its well-deserved. Thank you.
You're welcome. The chair recognizes Councilmember Lozada.
Thank you, Council President. I want to take a moment to acknowledge Gianna Lee. She's the newest member of my team, and this past Sunday, she graduated with a master's in public administration from the Fels Institute of Government at the University of Pennsylvania. She's in good company as my chief of staff and Councilmember Driscoll are also alumni. Gianna was also selected to introduce the commencement speaker, Mayor Sherelle Parker. Last week was her first week in my office, but she hit the ground running. Gianna researched the process of accessing treatment for beds for people with substance abuse disorder in our city and drafted today's resolution calling on the special committee on Kensington to convene and investigate the barriers to accessing beds for treatment. That resolution was introduced today. Gianna, thank you for your work and for going above and beyond, not only in your studies, but as a city employee. I'm excited to see everything that you will accomplish as a member of my staff. Welcome.
Sure.
Thank you, Council President.
Councilmember Isaiah Thomas.
Council President, colleagues, good afternoon. Very brief, I normally don't do speeches, but I did want to take a minute to just acknowledge the fact that Monday is Memorial Day. And for my family, this is, and I'm sure for many people across the city, really across the country, this is a really big deal. I want to take a moment to thank everybody who has served. I know we have some folks here in council who has served as well too. Sergeant of Arms, staff members, thank you all for your service, not just to the city, but to the country, willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. I do want to give a special shout out to my sister, who is, my sister Angel, who is a veteran, my brother Lamar, who's done over 20 years in the Army and is still in the Army right now, my Uncle Henry, who actually passed away, who served in the Vietnam War, and then my Uncle Aaron, who I actually never met, who was one of the Edison 64 that passed away in the Vietnam War. And if you don't know about the Edison 64, Edison High School right here in the city of Philadelphia had more people die in the Vietnam War than any other high school in the entire country. Unfortunately, we could not be at the service today, which takes place in the 5th Councilmanic District, which the phenomenal Councilman Jay Young presides over. Unfortunately, we could not be at the Memorial Day event today, but I did want to offer our support on behalf of City Council and close out by thanking our former Council President, Council President Clark, who's also an Edison High School alum. He actually graduated around the same time that my dad graduated from Edison High School, and just appreciate him for always highlighting and recognizing the Edison 64 and putting significant resources and making sure that that facility in North Philadelphia offers great programs, resources, and support systems for families who have lost loved ones due to them giving their ultimate sacrifice of their life on behalf of this country. So, Council President, colleagues, thank you all for all of your support. Great job today. So many amazing resolutions, bills, and advocacy initiatives. Yeah, thank you to all of those of you who have served. We appreciate your service. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilman Jamie Gaudier.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to remind council members and staff that today at 2 p.m. my office is partnering with Community Legal Services to do a virtual briefing on equity and racial bias that was present in the city's 2023 real estate assessments. I hope that as many people will participate as possible, particularly given the administration's intention to issue reassessments this spring and summer. And I also want to note for the record that this is and probably will remain the briefest speech I've ever given. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, and I will be brief. Today I rise to salute one of our members who is about to take his nuptials tomorrow or Saturday. And we want to congratulate him. The only other member I know in my tenure that got married was Member Brooks, and she's still married. So there is hope. So congratulations, Member Young, congratulations.
So I guess I don't expect to see you here next week, right? Leave of absence or something? The chair recognizes Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilman Jones, for that shout out. Yes, I'll be getting married tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. So I want to, give a shout out to my soon-to-be wife, Jennifer. I know she's watching. But I just want to state briefly, it is Memorial Day weekend, and on Sunday, May 26th, there is the Military Basketball Association Championship game at the Leacourt Center on Temple University campus. Believes the women's game is at 5 o'clock and the men's game starts at 7. So if you are available, please support the Military Basketball Association game at Temple University Leacourt Center.
Thank you very much. With that being said, there are no more speeches. Councilman Jones, your light is lit. Would you like to be acknowledged, sir? Okay, just wanted to double check. There are no more speeches. The chair recognizes Councilmember Isaiah Thomas for a motion to adjourn, and also everybody have a great Memorial Day holiday weekend, and also do some self-care in the meanwhile. The chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you for your leadership, Council President. And I move that council stands adjourned until Thursday, May 30th, 2024 at 10 a.m. sharp.
It has been moved and properly seconded that council stand adjourned until Thursday, May the 30th, 2024 at 10 a.m. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you all very much.